Welcome to this edition of BurnTech University presented by United States Stove Company. In today's video, we will show you how to properly replace the 40132 brick retainer in your circulator. This video can be used for the following models. The tools needed for today's project are a flathead screwdriver, a number 2 screwdriver, 7/16 wrench, and a 3/8 wrench. Always refer to your owner's manual. This video is for informational purposes only. If you are unsure about replacing any of the components on the stove, we recommend having a certified electrician or stove technician do this for you. Your stove should be completely cool before attempting any maintenance or repairs. To successfully complete this project, the exhaust pipe must be removed from the flue collar. To start, open the cabinet door and locate the thermostat assembly. The thermostat is located on the back side of the front cabinet panel. Then remove the S-hook and chain from the thermostat. You may need to bend the S-hook slightly to remove it. Place the chain aside. Open the lid on the top of the stove. The cabinet will need to be removed in order to easily access the bolts attaching the brick retainer to the stove. To do this, remove the nut and bolt from the bracket coming from the back of the stove to the cabinet, using the wrench to secure the nut and the number 2 Phillips screwdriver to loosen the bolt and remove it. Repeat this step for the other side. Close the lid on the stove. Now going to the bottom ledge on the front of the stove, remove the 4 nuts from the weld studs that are on the bottom of the cabinet. Repeat this step for the back of the cabinet. The cabinet is now completely free from the stove. For this next step, you will need help. Lift the cabinet up into the back of the stove to take it off of the stove. Then set it aside. Now open the feed door. Using the wrench to hold the nut still on the outside of the stove and the flathead screwdriver on the inside of the stove, loosen the bolt and remove it. Repeat this step to remove the remaining 2 nuts and bolts. This will work for either brick retainer. Now that the nuts and bolts are completely removed, pick up and forward to pull the brick retainer out of the stove. To install the new brick retainer, put it into the stove with a single hole ledge facing down and the ledge with 6 holes facing upward to the side of the firebox. When the brick retainer is in place, line up the holes in the retainer and the holes in the firebox. Then insert and tighten the 3 nuts and bolts securing the brick retainer to the firebox. Make sure to tighten completely, using the wrench and flathead screwdriver. These steps for replacing the retainer will work for either side of the stove. You can now close the firebox door. Now with some help, lift the cabinet up and set it over the firebox. Once the cabinet is in place and the weld studs on the bottom of the cabinet are through the stove, replace the nut and bolt attaching the bracket from the stove to the cabinet. Use the wrench to ensure it is tight. Do the same for the other side. Close the lid on the top of the cabinet, then going to the bottom ledge of the stove, replace the nuts on the 4 weld studs and ensure they are tight using your wrench. After this step is completed, repeat for the opposite side. After the cabinet is back in place, you must reattach the chain coming from the stove to the thermostat. To do this, slide the S-hook that is connected to the chain through the hole on the right side of the thermostat. Bend the S-hook back together if it is too loose. Once your stove is put back together, you are ready to operate your stove. Once again, this video is for informational purposes only. We strongly recommend a certified electrician or stove technician do any repairs for you. If you need further assistance or have any questions, please call 1-800-750-2723 or visit us at usstove.com. Thank you for watching this edition of BurnTech University.